Welcome back. Welcome back. Yes, thank you. I know you've got your plates of food. Please keep eating. I don't want to come in between you and the food. But let me borrow your ears. May I have your ears though? Thank you. Perfect. Because we're going into a very power-packed afternoon. Yes? Yes. Are you going to throw me your energy and power? Yes, thank you. Thank you, girls. We have a really beautifully curated session coming up for you. We're talking about picking up the pieces. Erin Hansen says, what if I fall? And there comes the reply, oh my darling, what if you fly? So join me for an afternoon of high flying through the journeys of these incredible humans. Please join me in welcoming Nandini Murali. Nandini, are you with us? Welcoming Nandini. For those of you who don't have a plate in front of you, you have no excuse. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Welcoming Nandini, she's a life coach and a facilitator, an author, and a researcher, mental health promotion activist. It's an honor to have you with us. Thank you. Paul, are you with us? Paul? There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for this man coming from the land of down under, all the way from Sydney, a rebel turned into a revolutionary. Paul McKenney is a 9-star Isogenics business coach, Isogenics Sydney, Australia. Welcoming you, Paul. Shamiz Kachwala. Shamiz. Wow, we got music for you. Shamiz is a certified holistic health and natural healing counselor, helping people overcome disease with a plant-based diet. We can't wait to hear from you. Good morning, the back of the room. Good morning, back of the room. Your mobile phones are not running away. Put them down for a second. Put them down. Let me see your mobile phones. Put them up. Put them up. Hands free. Hands free. Let me see all your hands. Leave the phones away for a second. Oh, look at these girls. So generously left their food. Welcoming two icons from a legendary business family of India. If we could have the pleasure of having on the stage Mr. Purushottam P. Singhal. Please put your hands together in welcoming this legendary family. Purushottam Singhal, the director of Transport Wings Private Limited, and Uttam Singhal. Uttam, welcoming you, Uttam. Are you twins? Are you? Are you twins? No? Just brothers? The directors of Transport Wings Private Limited, they're changing the way we travel on our roads in India. You'll hear more of their journey. It's impactful and deeply enriching to how we, like I said, travel on our roadways. The session is called Down But Not Out. Are we ready, Mamta? Okay. Welcoming the rest of the Singhal family, Radha Singhal. Welcoming Radha Singhal. Your mom, right? She's a part. Ma'am, please join us on the stage. She's the mother of these incredible brothers. She's the wife of the visionary that created and laid the foundations of the company that will change the history of India. Is there another single in the room? There's one more single, right? This one? The three of you? Oh, okay. Okay. Inviting Nandini Murali to speak with us and share her journey about mental health promotion and suicide prevention activism. Welcoming you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mansi, for that very generous introduction. There is a purpose in every stumble and fall, said Sri Aurobindo, the Indian mystic, poet, and philosopher, in his magnum opus, Savitri. 3 years back, my world fell apart. The vase had shattered into smithereens. In nanoseconds, life, as I had known it, had changed forever. The cocoon I had built with my husband had just vanished without a trace. I believe the most powerful learnings in life comes from lived experience, anubhava, as we call it in the Indic tradition. There is a certain raw, visceral authenticity to lived experience, the embodied wisdom it contains that makes it impossible to ignore. I believe it contains the seeds for transformation and growth, which is beyond one's imagination. The traumatic tragedy that changed my life, that shattered my life, that broke my spirit was my husband's tragic death by suicide. My husband was a brilliant doctor in Madurai. I'd like to reiterate here that I'm sharing this not to be seen as an object of pity or even as an object of inspiration. I have no desire to sensationalize, glorify, or romanticize tragedy. But I share it because this lived experience, this deeply personal experience has made me who I am today. It has not reduced me, it has not trivialized me, it has not minimized me, it does not define me in any way, but it's a huge part of who I am today. I'd also like to share this because the 4S around suicide, stigma, shame, secrecy, and silence make picking up the pieces after a fall and rebuilding one's life for those who have been left behind incredibly challenging and tremendously difficult. I'm reminded of the Japanese art, the Japanese pottery, kintsugi, poetically translated as golden joinery. As many of you would know, it involves repairing a ceramic pottery with a special tree lacquer dusted with powdered gold, silver, and zinc. The purpose behind this beautiful art form is to celebrate fractures, disjoints and ruptures. It's nothing to be hidden, nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to be camouflaged. I'm reminded of this because I feel we too need to own and tell our stories. The cracks need to show because, as Rumi, one of my favorite poets and philosophers, so beautifully said it, the crack is the place through which light floods in. My scars remind me that we need to heal our deepest wounds, that because, after all, isn't what is wisdom but healed pain. I have been broken in many places by the tragedy, but it has not trivialized me, it has not minimized me, it has not reduced me in any way. Rather, I've been made stronger and more resilient, but by what has been hurled at me rather unexpectedly. For me, having the courage to speak about this openly is all about embracing my authenticity. It's all about reclaiming my power. It's also all about creating spaces for supportive, informed conversations about topics such as suicide and mental health, which are shrouded in a great deal of stigma, secrecy, shame, and silence. Life happens to us. We have no control over what happens to us, but I believe where we have absolute free will is in choosing how we respond to life's circumstances. We can choose not to be defined, reduced, minimized, or trivialized by the tragedy, but rather see them as radical opportunities for growth and transformation. The Vedantic tradition in which I'm rooted tells us that we need to assume responsibility for our lives. This is a deeply spiritual truth because all too often we are all too ready to outsource responsibility to others, to blame events or shortcomings for our misfortunes. After the tragedy, I had two options: either to sink or swim in the turbulent ocean of grief in which I was tossed about. At that point, I made the decision, I'm going to swim, clinging on to a lifeline, clinging on to a raft, no matter how challenging it was. And I'm glad I made that very conscious decision to reinvent, to recalibrate, and as we've been hearing since morning, to rise stronger and redefine myself. My spiritual guru, Sri Guru Rohit Arya, told me right at the beginning of the tragedy, avoid the victim trap. What makes you think you're so entitled that you think this cannot happen to you? Stop saying, why me? Why not me? What makes you come from such a place of entitlement? That truly was the lifeline which helped me swim this journey. A lot of people have been supportive through my journey, my friends. Some of them are here right now. I did not want to mention two of them today, but I think two of them, Mamta and Vidya Auntie, and I think Bunty, if he's here, have been enormously supportive through my journey, my birth family, especially my parents and my loving brother, and amazing friends who are actually part of my family. I'd like to conclude with this quotation from the Bhagavad Gita. My mother taught me this when 20 years back I was going through a difficult time. I quote, "Karpanya dosho upahrit swabhavat prachami tvam dharma sammuda chetaha yat shreyasyam nishchitam bruhi tanme sishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam." Roughly translated, it says, I surrender to grace, to the divine grace. I do not know what is best for me. You guide me. Lastly, I'd like to dedicate this talk to the memory of my late husband, Dr. T.R. Murali, and my mother, Sudha Raman, who's been my biggest inspiration, my strength, my biggest cheerleader. And I'm truly blessed, Amma, to have you as my mother. I do hope you're listening to this someday, sometime. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandini, for sharing your soul-stirring journey with us. I always say there's so many ways to be brave in this world, but to embrace our circumstances is one of the hardest and bravest ways to be in the world. Thank you so much, because you are the grace, the divine grace for us this afternoon. I'd like to invite someone very special coming all the way from Australia, someone who was a police cadet, an undercover police cadet, for 15 years for the Australian police in drug trafficking. Obviously, that was a fair bit of emotional traveling for him, which created new lessons that he brings to us to share. Please welcome Paul McNamee, coming all the way from Australia.
I've had 7 tragedies and personal challenges in my life. But the blessing I've had 8 blessings. I've been knocked down 7 times, but I got up 8. Let me explain. When I was 16, I left school. The teacher told me that I would never amount to anything and to leave school straight away. So I left that day. I decided to join the police, and I thought I knew everything about the world. I was involved in several murders, not involved myself, but I investigated several murders, suicides, road accident deaths, and many, many drug overdoses. Around this time, my son died virtually in my arms, and that was one of the biggest disasters that I've ever had in my life. Virtually shortly after, my brother died of cancer at age 31, and then I was involved in the Hilton bombing where several people were killed, and then my friend committed suicide. Because of all these blocked one-on-one things, I had a nervous breakdown. I was off work for 18 months. I was taking drugs and I was drinking heavily, and I was really off the planet, and I really didn't know whether I wanted to be here today, or back then. And I was fortunate the police doctor said, Paul, you have to go and learn how to control stress and learn how to sleep. Because I wasn't sleeping, I was having nightmares over and over and over again. So from there, I went to a personal development seminar, and my first mentor was a guy called Paul Blackburn. And he took me under his wing and mentored me. I've been fortunate enough to have 5 fantastic mentors that have helped me be the person I am today. I was married for 31 years, then I got divorced and separated, but then I had another blessing. The blessing was I met my soulmate and bestest friend, Suzanne Skillen, and we now work here. We now work together, and we have built a business around the world. We have over 100,000 people in our team underneath us in 10 countries around the world, and we work in health and wellness. And the learnings that I've had has helped me spread the word. And what we've done, we've developed and mentored 12 people. But the blessings that I've had in my life have completely changed my life. Everything was going great. 2019, Suzanne and myself, we travelled the world together. We've had a fantastic 14 years. Then in 2009, I had another tragedy. I was tested to see how courageous I was. My mum and dad both passed away within 6 months, and they were married for 67 years. But the blessing from there was that they're now back together again, and they're out of pain. So after a tragedy, I've had many, many blessings. Being here today is a blessing. But what I've learned, I'm going to share 4 secrets with you. And the 4 secrets that I had to change to be where I am today is, the first one is I had to learn forgiveness. Forgiveness, I had to forgive myself for all the crazy things that I've done in my life, but I also had to forgive others for the things that they've done to me. Number 2, I had to learn to love myself. Not in an egotistical way, I mean love yourself from the heart. I had to change the way I thought. Number 3, I now live in the now. Before, when I was focusing on my past, I was living in my past. I was always in the past. And virtually, your past does not create your destiny. Your future is in your hands. Number 4 is affirmations. Affirmations help change my life. I've been doing affirmations now for nearly 20 years. So every night before I go to bed and every morning I read these. I give unconditional love to myself and to others and to Suzanne. I attract fantastic people and leaders to me every day. Fun and happiness flows to me daily. I have unlimited abundance in all areas of my life. My word for 2020 is clarity. What is your word for 2020? I'm so deserving and worthy of success. Everything I touch turns to gold, and it takes courage to rise again after a tragedy. How many of you have had a tragedy or a personal challenge, then you've had a blessing? Just raise your hand if you had a personal challenge, then you've had a blessing afterward. Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for the blessing of being here in India. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. That's all right. I'll get it in a second. I just see there's everyone tall after me. So. But thank you for such a powerful sharing. It means so much that your words, they've moved us. But I want to also ask, like you stirred a thought in me. I want to know, what is your word for 2020? Do you have a word? Shine. Inspire. Power. Sorry? Each for equal. That's many words. Equality. Seek. Beautiful. Thank you, Swati. Happy. Simple is powerful. Educate. Independence. Beautiful. Growth. Organize. Success. Focus. Love. Luminous. You see, these are such beautifully feminine qualities. Luminosity, effervescence, shine. Thank you so much for shining your light so bright. Thank you, Paul, for helping us shine so bright. Thank you. I'd like us to travel to New Zealand a little bit through the eyes of Shamiz Kachwala and take us on the journey of what it means to heal through plants and the wisdom that they encapsulate. Welcoming you, Shamiz. Can we welcome Shamiz, please?
Just the wrong slide. That was awesome, Paul. Really inspiring. Seriously. All right. Okay. It worked before. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, I'll try and say what I need to say. But first of all, thank you, Mamta, for inviting me to come here and speak to you all today. It's been a long journey. But I'd like to dedicate this talk to my mother, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be standing here today. I got diagnosed with a medically incurable disease, and I cured it 7 years ago. So I would now say, please put your attention towards the screen, because I have an interesting video that I would like to share with you, because I'm going to narrate my story through a whiteboard video. I don't know if you know what a whiteboard video is, but it's when you draw your life. I didn't draw it, but it's just an interesting way to actually tell my story. And if they could, there we go. Awesome. So also, please feel free to follow us on our social media. We are big on social media. High Carb Health is our consultancy, Instagram and Facebook. All right. Go back, go back, go back. Come on, guys. It's right there. Yeah. Yes. I think my brother's got it. So. All right, here we go. I just need that. Right?
Okay.
The next slide, click it. Should work. And again. Yep. It's really hard to explain without the video, so it's a bummer. Yeah, we can do that. That should be fine. Sorry, guys. Yeah, if it's not coming. Yeah. All right.
Turn it off the screen for a moment, please. Like I mentioned to you, we're going to now meet with an eminent family from Calcutta. These brothers, the single brothers, Purushottam and Uttam, with their mother, sit proud today because their father had a dream. He had a vision and he had the courage to dream of a network of road transport services linking all the major cities of India. A mammoth task, but here the boys are living the dream of their father. Please welcome Purushottam Singhal, the Director of Transport Wings, Calcutta Private Limited, welcoming you. Sorry, this is in your way. Be careful.
A very good afternoon to all.
Afternoon.
I'd like to thank Mamta and the team to cordially invite us and to join such a beautiful moment. We like to share what we have, our experience. As she told, we are from the Calcutta, we are a business family, and my father has started my business. This business was established in 1956. It's around 64 years back. At that time, when there was no roads, no connectivities, even that time my father has dreamed of connecting all the roads, making these transportation services to be available to all the major industries. And with his dream, his vision, he has successfully made his dream true, and within a period of 5 years only, we are come to the global leader in India with our more than 72 offices that time. And among top 10 companies of the transport, we are one of them. We had a very golden past, and after the marriage, my mother has also joined the business and go by hand with my father. And we have spent a very good time until the eras came in 90s to 2000. In 1990, I just want to share these things only what we have experienced, because a person who has traveled a lot, who have enjoyed every privilege and have never thought of falling in any sphere, what he experienced, that I want to share at this time. And I like to thank my mother that she is a true woman whom I can say that for a successful of any man, there is a woman behind that. And for the success of my father and for our entire family, till now, she is the only one whom I want to oblige for that. In 1990, my father got a heart attack, and that time he has to go or undergo the bypass surgery. And that time, that bypass surgery is a very tricky and it very, you can say, it's not an easy thing, because the technology has not so advanced like it is now. But she has the courage. She cared for us. She cared for the family. She cared for the father. She cared for the business. All together, she has managed. And that was the time when she asked me to join the business. And that time my age was only 11 years. That time I am a child. So I have no idea what to do, what to not to do. And my father was in the hospital for 3 months continuous. Even I was not allowed to go inside the hospital to meet my father. You can understand that. Only my mother is there who is looking after all things and guide me and give me the courage. He only just say one thing, you do your best and forget about everything. Whatever it will be the situation, it will be improved. Never give your hope, never give your courage. One day you will find the success. In 94, my father got paralyzed also. A series of problems curtailing more and more. And 98, as we all know, that in India there is a huge recession is going on. And that time we had a loss of heavy financial crisis all over. You can say we have lost almost more than 50% of our wealth that time. My father was on a very bad health situation and money was lost. Everything was going wrong. Even though that time also I was only because of my mother stand up and look forward. We see whatever will be done will be done. We have to do, we have to go on. The show must go on. There should not be a stoppage to any journey and there should not be any remind. You have to focus on your future and you have to go on, move on. That we do. And lastly, in 2000, when my father died, it was a very big tragedy, which was shaken me very bad. But that was the only point when, after my brother, Mr. Uttam Singhal, has joined our business family business, I feel that now this is the time we can move ahead and we rethink our way of doing job, we are doing working, and we have reinventing new things in an innovative manners, not a traditional manners, and we focus on more emphasis on what the customer is actually demanding. We study the market, we study the trend, we study what the thing required in future. Accordingly, we move on, and now the day has come. We are now not only in India, we are again stand up We have moved ahead very much, and now we are going to be globally. We are working not in India, we are working all over the globe right now, and our focus is not to come in top 10 companies of India, but to be a top 10 companies in the globe. And I like to thank all this to my brother and this all entire blessings of my mother. And it is her courage, her aim and her vision. We all are standing here, and I like to thank them all. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Purushottam. If I could hand it over to Uttam, please, to share also his journey. Would you be? Yeah? Okay. And Radhama, would you? आप बोलेंगे? Okay, एक ही बात है. It's all in the family. Thank you so much for representing the power of the collective energy of a family. Thank you for being the beautiful connected family that you all are. Thank you. Are you ready? Please welcome the lovely gentleman coming from New Zealand once again.
All right, round two. Okay. So thank you, Mamta, for inviting me here. It's been an honor to speak here and to inspire all you guys today, because I believe I have a really interesting story, and hopefully it inspires you today. So again, please focus your attention on the screens, because I want to basically narrate my story with a Draw My Life video about how I was able to pick myself up after a fall. Here we go. My journey to a life after colitis, Part 1, Japan. It all started 7 years ago when I was teaching English to high school students in Japan. While I was there, I slowly started to notice that my digestion wasn't quite right. But when I started to see red in my stool, I panicked. So I visited my local GP. Sorry. So I visited my local GP, and he said, let's get you checked. So what that really means is they stick a camera up your bum to see what's wrong. They call it a colonoscopy. And that was when I was diagnosed with mild colitis. So I did what anyone would do, Googled it. What is colitis? Colitis is an inflammatory bowel disease, an autoimmune condition where the body finds it hard to digest food. Your colon, or large intestine, is so inflamed that everything passes straight through you. It's fine though. Mine was just a mild case. I wasn't too worried about it. So they told me I had to stay in hospital for about a week, just for observation. So I scooted home, packed a few clothes, and came back to the hospital. That first week came and went, and it turns out I wouldn't need those clothes as I was going to spend the next 6 weeks in a hospital gown. They put me on antibiotics and anti-inflammatory drugs straight away, hoping it would reduce the inflammation. I was hopeful. They fed me typical Japanese hospital food, rice, raw egg, and fish. This was supposedly easy to digest and good for people with colitis. I trusted in the doctors and did everything I was told. When I arrived in hospital, I was going to the toilet about 3 or 4 times a day. But just after 2 weeks in hospital, doing everything I was told, things got worse. I was now going 7 to 8 times a day. So they decided to bring in the big guns, steroids. On top of that, they stopped feeding me. This was to give the medication a chance to work. Spoiler alert, the meds didn't work at all. Things had seriously gone downhill. I was going to the bathroom 30 times a day and losing lots of blood. So I had to call my parents. They were on the next plane out from New Zealand and arrived just in time. I was bedridden. I could barely get myself to the toilet. I had painful cramps and I needed drugs to sleep. It had been 2 weeks now without food and getting just 1,600 calories through a catheter in my neck. I was losing lots of weight and shedding 30 kilos. I had another colonoscopy and my mild colitis became severe ulcerative colitis. I was very weak and couldn't make decisions for myself anymore. I was 100% reliant on my parents and the doctors. The drugs weren't working. The drugs weren't working, so the doctors suggested surgery. It's called a colectomy. They wanted to cut the inflamed section of my colon out. I was so exhausted and just wanted to get better, the doctors said surgery could help me. My mum was quite angry, and thankfully she refused surgery. As an alternative, they put me on immunosuppressant drugs, serious stuff. It's the drugs they give to organ transplant patients so their body won't reject the new organ. It basically shuts down your immune system. So the immunosuppressant drugs were very strong. They didn't fix the inflammation, but they did reduce the number of times I was going to the toilet. With this small bit of improvement, my mum had a chance to do some research. She came across this book called Self-Healing Colitis and Crohn's. She ordered the book from Amazon. It arrived in a couple of days. The book focused on a diet and lifestyle change, on how food was the key to healing the inflammation. This was the first time we had ever heard of food helping digestive disease, as this was something doctors had always dismissed. The author, Dr. David Klein, had the same disease as me for about 8 years until he found that a whole food plant-based diet was the key to reversing this disease. After reading about how dangerous the meds were, we stopped taking them, and the doctors were not allowed it, so I was pretending to take them but secretly flushing down the toilet. The doctors allowed me to start eating foods again after a long while. We insisted on a diet of fruits and vegetables. We bought a blender and a juicer in hospital, and my mum would make me smoothies in my room. After 1 week on the diet, they did another colonoscopy, and it showed no ulcers, and the doctors were shocked. They claimed that the meds had started finally working and prescribed me a suitcase full of more meds to take home. Little did they know that I hadn't taken a single pill for a week, and I would never take a single pill ever again. So I want to just share with you my hospital experience so you guys can see what I went through and how much of a burden it was on my life and how I've been able to pick myself up. So just, if you'd like to just flick through the slides. So this is me, nearly at my worst, but they pretty much hooked me up to a machine and they were drawing blood out of my body and then pumping it back in, trying to clean my blood. This was in Japan, by the way. So yeah, this is me giving a thumbs up because I was feeling a lot better after starting the diet. And yeah, 30 kilos of me. So I was down to 41 kilos, I think. So these were the nurses. They were a fantastic bunch. I loved them a lot. And they gave me a cake which was full of dairy and full of all sorts of bad stuff. And I looked at it and I was like, no, thank you. So this was me out of the hospital when we went back home to my place. And you can see how thin I was. And this is me now. So, so I've really been able to transform my life. I can ride 100-kilometer bike rides, no sweat nowadays. I'm actually training for a half marathon next week, a couple of weeks. And this is the power of plants. Okay, this is what a plant-based diet will do. And what my purpose in life is now is to try and help other people do exactly the same thing as what I'm doing now. And we've helped over 400 people heal their disease and really help themselves. And I love this quote because it says, you know, sometimes you fall down because there's something down there that you're supposed to find. And a plant-based diet was that for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shamiz. Inspired, humbled, speechless. Thank you. That presentation was worth fighting for. Did you notice in his presentation, he revolutionized love? Did you see? Did any of you know? Re-lovution. So a revolution with a healing through love. Shamiz, incredible journey. Thank you. And in Ayurveda, actually, yeah, because in Ayurveda, that's what we believe, right? Food is thy medicine. You are what you eat. So you're a walking, talking example of that. If I could welcome Dr. Harbeen Arora onto the stage to honor these very, very special people. I'm sorry, this is an obstacle course. Oh my God. It's all Paul's fault.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Welcoming Nandini Murali as we present to you an award for an exceptional woman of excellence at the Women Economic Forum in Madurai 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for these incredible healers of the mind, body and soul. Paul Mechanic, please accept this felicitation on behalf of the All Ladies League as we present to you the title of an exceptional leader of excellence. Calling upon this preeminent business family from Calcutta to accept their awards for Shotam, Uttam and Radha Devi as we present to you awards for exceptional leaders of excellence at the Women Economic Forum. Presenting to Radha Devi this award. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a special award as we declare her to be a Woman of the Decade. Purushottam, please accept this honor. Uttam Singhal, an exceptional leader of excellence. And our very special guest from New Zealand, Shamiz Kachwala. We are honored and humbled to honor you with this award presented to you in acknowledgement of your journey. Please step up to the front for a photograph.